Ages ago, before Old School Runescape had any skills, there were many attempts to add one. Warding was one of them, and probably one of the most controversial. While it failed for many reasons, today I'm going to talk about particularly one, the core of the skill. This, in my opinion, was the most basic problem warding had. If you look at the in-game skills, all of them have a core idea that expands on itself. For fishing, you fish, for smithing, you smith, for woodcutting, you woodcut, and so on. All of these have core ideas that are simple to understand by just looking at them. Essentially, if I tell you I'm going to train fishing, you know generally that it involves, well, fishing activities regardless of what specific activity I choose. This idea is then further used to build the identity of the skill as a whole. Let's again talk about fishing. If the purpose of the skill is to fish, and that's the idea you have, then to build an identity, your idea needs to answer three simple questions. How are you going to fish? Where are you going to fish? What are you going to fish? These questions can have many answers, and none of them are inherently wrong. The point of the questions is to see if your idea has enough logic to even invoke them to begin with. So, if your idea is fishing, we can easily ask how, where, and what we are going to fish, consolidating the idea that the skill has, meaning that the players will recognize a group of actions as related to that skill. This is what wording already lacked since the beginning. If I ask someone what fishing is about, they can clearly identify the idea, and then we can proceed to talk about the how, where, and what. With wording on the other end, you can ask players what wording is about, but I doubt many people will know, meaning the first question players ask is what are words or what is wording, rather than I understand your idea, but what activities does it involve. But the problem here wasn't even just wording as a concept, it was the fact that the skill pitch was very unfocused and all over the place. The pitch, at least as far as I remember it, pretty much had three completely iterations. First, it was about imbuing gear, specifically related to just crafting magic gear, then it involved some spells and abilities, and finally, it involved some sort of summoned creatures. This is exactly what I mean when I say that wording did not have an easily identifiable idea. What is wording supposed to be about? Imbues? Summons? Abilities and spells? Ultimately, we spent more time trying to understand what the idea of wording even was, instead of discussing the skill and what it would entail. With fishing, we can talk about what types of fish you get, where you get them, and how you fish them. But we all know what fishing is supposed to be. With wording, how do we achieve that if we don't even know what wording is supposed to be to begin with? As I have mentioned in previous videos, usually there's three big steps when it comes to designing a skill. Level 1, does it belong in the game? Level 2, skilling progression and rewards, and level 3, impact to the game. Wording did not start with level 1, it started with level 3. Basically, okay, so people love splashing, how do we make splashing useful? Oh, the players can earn currency to imbue magic gear, and we can offer that as a reward in the skill. This is problematic because it fails level 1, which should be the first and most basic bar to clear when it comes to if a skill should be in the game. When you design a skill with rewards in mind, it's hard to design a skill that both feels like it belongs in the game and a skill that can be expanded on. If I started with a reward, which is the end goal, I'm going to work backwards to build a road on how to get to that goal. If I start with a skill idea on the other end, I'm starting at the beginning of the road and then build that road forward, meaning I can build roads that lead to side paths, or in this case, I can build different activities that give different rewards, since the point of the skill is the idea, not a specific reward. This also does not take into account if the skill is going to be fun to engage with. Good skills aren't so much about the good rewards as they are also about being fun or interesting to engage with them. Construction is one of the most powerful skills in Old School Runescape when it comes to the rewards it offers. Player-owned houses pretty much are a must to even play the game nowadays. Construction absolutely sucks for a lot of people, as the skill isn't exactly very fun to train and doesn't really have many ways to train it. Rewards are far from the only thing that makes a skill good or interesting for people. Obviously, this wasn't the only issue the skill had, but in my opinion is what doomed it since the beginning. To this day, a lot of people that were around when wording was pulled still do not entirely know what the skill was about, especially considering that the skill changed what it was supposed to be multiple times, so even if you read the blog posts, next week the skill had already changed. Obviously, we also lived in a climate of people wanting Old School to remain pure of new skills, as a new skill would quote-unquote ruin the experience. The beginning idea was essentially a crafting 2, where you would use the skill to create magic armor, which was deemed unnecessary by many people, especially since crafting already existed. But as a whole, all of these problems just consolidate my argument that without a strong core idea for a skill, your skill has a low chance of being accepted by the community. Or you can just wait a few years, change the name of the skill, and bam, you got shamanism, which almost won. So maybe I actually have no idea what I'm talking about and the game is actually doomed. Also, because I know that obviously there's gonna be people bringing this up, I'm not saying that every skill in the game has the same level when it comes to their identities. Some skills' identities are stronger, others are weaker, but the main takeaway I want you to get from this video is that all of them at least have an identity.